I kind of came into the field of therapy a little later in life, but I've always felt like the helping profession is part of my DNA. I spent 10 years as a pastor. I've spent the last 20 years as an educator, and a portion of that time I was doing work as a chaplain within the school where I teach. And I felt like connecting with students, connecting with families, and helping shepherd them through a variety of difficulties in life has always been something that I've kind of been drawn to. And so I think in some ways there's just part of that DNA of a helping profession that's always been inside of me. And ultimately, one of the things that I yearn for with whether it's an individual or a couple or a family is I yearn for them to feel a sense of connection with each other. I want them to be able to find that secure attachment so that whenever those children are later married and have their own children, they can pass on that secure attachment themselves. So I look at it kind of in a sense as legacy building. When I think about working with couples, I think it's often less about lack of communication and more about lack of connection. While communication skills may be underdeveloped, ultimately we are looking for a connection with the person that we're dating or the person that we've partnered with or the children that we parent. I think couples specifically want deeper emotional connections and secure attachments in their relationships. I think children want deeper emotional connections and secure attachments with their parents. Ultimately, we want to feel that our partner or our parent is accessible, they're responsive, and they're engaged with us. In a simple way, I think we want to say to our partner, "Are you there for me?" And we want our partner to say back to us, "Yes, I'm here for you." And then we feel that emotional accessibility, and we feel that our partners or our parents are responsive, and there's an engagement or a connection. When we think about our children, we want our children to feel a security in the relationship that we have with them as parents, where they know, they believe, and they experience that we are there for them and present emotionally to meet their needs. Now, at the core of this, I feel, is the freedom that we feel in being emotionally vulnerable and accessible. It's all about emotion. Emotion is central to connection. Emotion is prime. But I think many of us struggle to express our true emotions in relationships, and often for very good reason. We've attempted in the past and we've felt rejection or marginalization or sometimes abuse. It seems that every time we risk that emotional transparency, we're met with some type of resistance or silence, and we become less and less likely to engage emotionally over time. We stay in that first layer of emotional vulnerability, and we say things that like, that makes me angry, or that makes me scared, or that frustrates me. When in reality, what we feel is much deeper, but we don't feel the freedom to express that. So the challenge is to look underneath that emotion, to go deeper. What lies underneath that fear? Because in so many moments, I think it's not fear that we feel. What we actually feel is insecurity, or we feel overwhelmed, or we feel worried, or we feel worthless. But we stay at that surface because that's where it feels safe. But the more we feel security in our emotional connection, the more we feel free to say, hey, when I got quiet or I shut down in our conversation last night, it's because I started to feel overwhelmed, or I started to feel insignificant. These kinds of interactions and reactions, it gets us to the core of building that connection that we all want. So for fun, I love the outdoors. I'm definitely drawn to creation and nature. I love taking photographs, especially in the outdoors. And so I think really anything outdoor related I'm into. And part of it is because when I'm outdoors, I'm surrounded by the potential for growth. And I think that's a big overlap I see with working in the field of therapy. Like there's always possibility for growth. There's always possibility for change. And so when I'm in the natural world and amongst, just nature and creation, like I see that around me all the time, and it's so fulfilling and so encouraging. And so I love just being outdoors, whether that's kayaking or I love to fish, I love to backpack and camp. Those are just really important things to kind of energize me. I love going to concerts too. Live music is always a really fun thing, and big fan of Oklahoma football, so I love watching football. So in therapy, I think together, we will explore that underlying emotional pattern that may drive our interaction with others. And once we recognize those patterns, I think we can begin to understand why we react the way that we do in various situations. Ultimately, we want to discover what might keep us from freely experiencing our emotions with our partners or with our family members. Discovering what might ultimately keep us from feeling that secure attachment. I feel like together in session, we'll work to create and strengthen those secure emotional bonds that we can have with our partners or with our children, to try to provide that stable foundation, ultimately, really for all of our relationships. And when we look at family time, when we consider our family connections, I think together we can start to uncover maybe some of those repetitive cycles of interaction that could be causing distress within our family. And once we recognize those patterns, we can start to understand how they impact each family member. And then once this is uncovered, we can start to develop as family members a deeper awareness of our own emotions and then also those of others. And then this increased emotional literacy for all of our family members can help improve this understanding we can have, and then ultimately the empathy we can have together as a family.